Welcome into Tailgate Thursday for week number 7 of the 2025 football season. My name is David Morrison from the Vol Society, here to preview the upcoming college football games this weekend. We begin with our beloved Tennessee Volunteers, ranked number 12 in this week's AP poll, getting ready to host the Arkansas Razorbacks for 4:15 kickoff on the SEC Network. Both teams coming off a bye. For Arkansas, a change in leadership as Sam Pittman, no longer the head coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks, was let go after that Notre Dame game. Enter in Bobby Petrino, who was their who's still their offensive coordinator, and also at one time a former head coach for the Razorbacks during some of their better years. Now taking back over the head coaching ranks. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Arkansas adapts after Sam Pittman being let go and also coming off a bye week. How are they going to handle this newness of their program? You know, you have two of the top scoring offenses in the SEC. Tennessee averaging 51 points per game. Arkansas's 5th in the SEC in scoring at 37. But the defenses is what's going to be a real key factor. Both Arkansas and Tennessee's defenses near the bottom of the SEC in certain categories. You know, which defense is going to step up in this contest? And obviously the quarterbacks is going to be a big factor. Taylor Green, a talented quarterback. Tennessee saw him last year before he went out with an injury. He is third in the SEC in rushing and one of the top 5 passers in the SEC. So can Tennessee contain him? And, for Joey Aguilar and the Vols, get their offense going. Chris Brazzell having a great season leading the SEC in touchdown receptions at 7. Should be a very interesting game. Possible high-scoring game we shall see between the Razorbacks and the Volunteers. 12 o'clock on ABC, a top 14 matchup. 8th-ranked Alabama coming off the big win over Vanderbilt, giving them their first loss of the year. Heads on the road to take on the Missouri Tigers, and a Missouri team that is getting better week in and week out. We talked about Tennessee, one of the top scoring offenses in the SEC. Missouri is pretty much in, number 1 or in the top 5 in a lot of offensive categories. The number 1 offense as far as yards per game goes, 547 yards per game. They have the top rusher in the SEC, probably the top rusher in the country at this point, in Ahmad Hari, 730 yards so far for him. And their defense is not too bad either. Third best defense in the SEC right now, and only giving up 14 points per game on defense. So this is a very dangerous Missouri team. Meanwhile for Alabama, obviously they played, they played their last 2 best games in back-to-back weeks. Obviously the win over Georgia and now the win over Missouri. Ty Simpson now the leading passer in the SEC, passing Joey because Tennessee didn't play last week. Can Ty Simpson and that receiving core can find a way to pull out a win over Missouri, or will the Tigers get their first big marquee win of the season? It's the Tide and the Mizzou Tigers. Saturday. 12:45 SEC Network. Washington State taking on the 4th-ranked Ole Miss Rebels. Not much to really talk about this game. I mean, Washington State, still they're still in the quote-unquote Pac-12, but pretty much playing an independent schedule. Besides Oregon State, they play a couple times a year. So, kind of a tough challenge here, taking on an Ole Miss team that's also red hot at this moment. Trinidad Chambliss doing a great job taking over the starting reins at quarterback, and also another top running back in the SEC, Quan Lacey for Ole Miss, 445 yards. That's starting in the SEC. So we'll see what happens in this one. Probably going to be a blowout, but it is the Cougars and the Rebels. 3:30 on ABC, we head down to the Texas State Fair at the Cotton Bowl. 6th-ranked Oklahoma taking on the Texas Longhorns. Boy, Texas, we know how you feel when you go down to the swamp. Just a shocking loss to Florida. Well, I wouldn't say too much of a shock, in my opinion, but they did take the loss. Made a bit of a comeback towards the end, but wasn't victorious in the end, obviously. So now they got to regroup and take on Oklahoma. Not expecting to see John Mateer play in this game. I know there's some speculations he might. I don't think it's going to happen. So I expect to see Michael Hawkins go at quarterback for Oklahoma. But Oklahoma, I mean, the Sooners' top defense in the SEC, and you're taking on a Texas team that has been a little inconsistent on offense. And, with Arch Manning, this is another big opportunity to kind of solidify a huge marquee win in his Texas career. But always a fun time when we have the Sooners and the Longhorns in the Red River Shootout. 7 o'clock, ESPN. Kyle Field, home of the 12th man, 5th-ranked Texas A&M, taking on the Florida Gators. Florida coming off the win over Texas, we already mentioned. Can they pull 2 wins over teams from the Lone Star State here in the SEC? I'm telling you, we'll see what happens with Billy Napier and DJ Lagway, but it seems like some confidence is building. But meanwhile, for Texas A&M, they got a really good team themselves. Marcel Reed at quarterback, and they got 2 of the top wide receivers in the SEC. Mario Carver, leads the SEC in receiving. He's just past Chris Brazzell this past week. Casey Concepcion, also very talented at wide receiver himself. Le'Veon Moss at running back. And like I said, the defense not too bad either. Kind of middle of the pack, but should be a fun matchup between the Gators and the Aggies. Seems like Florida always has kind of struggled here at Texas A&M because they finally pulled it upset. We'll find out. Gators and Aggies Saturday night, 7:30 ABC. Georgia heading down to the Plains to take on the Auburn Tigers. Georgia coming off the win over Kentucky, bouncing back from the loss to Alabama. Now they go take on Auburn. Deep South Sodas rivalry. For Auburn, can you pull what Florida did last week to Texas? Can you pull a big upset win? This is a Saturday night game on the Plains. Can Jackson Arnold, Hugh Freeze, can get this team going? It just seems like can't really get it into gear, but Auburn's got talent to pull some wins out. I know they got the win over Baylor, but that's kind of all they're hanging on right now. But we'll find out what happens between the Bulldogs and the Tigers. 7:45, SEC Network, South Carolina, heading down to Baton Rouge to take on the 11th-ranked LSU Tigers. South Carolina and Gamecocks, with Lenore Sellers and just not having the season that they kind of want, but there's an opportunity to get back on the winning ways. I know this is a tough place to get a win on the road, especially Baton Rouge at night. But hey, Shane Beamer's found a way to pull out big wins. And does he have that magic down there? Maybe a little voodoo. Who knows? Meanwhile, for LSU, one of several teams that's been on the bye week last week, now back in conference play. Just trying to get this offense going. Garrett Nussmeier been struggling a bit. You also had Durham that's been out for some time. Can LSU just get back into the win column? Well, I guess they have been in the win column, but can they get back into good momentum and get back in this SEC race? We shall find out. All right, let's go across the nation. We'll get you out of here. We only got 3 games to talk about. We begin in Champaign. Number 1, Ohio State at 17th-ranked Illinois, 12 o'clock on Fox. Ohio State, top team in the nation, obviously. No debate in that one. Julian Sayin at quarterback. You've got Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, wide receiver. Just a great defense all the way around. And meanwhile for Illinois, just trying to, like I said, kind of get back in their winning ways and get some momentum, opportunity to pull a big upset win at home. But, Ohio State's very talented, and, they coming off a win over Minnesota last week. But we'll find out as the Buckeyes and the Illini meet. 3:30 CBS. College Game Day will be in Eugene, Oregon, as the 7th-ranked Indiana Hoosiers taking on the 3rd-ranked Oregon Ducks. Indiana, they dismantled Illinois a couple of weeks ago. Still building some momentum. Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback for the Hoosiers. Now they're taking on an Oregon team on the road. Oregon with Danye Morris at quarterback. and Dan Lanning's crew just got talent all the way around. Can Indiana finally pull a big win on the road? Remember last year, Indiana was undefeated, went into Ohio State, just got dismantled. Is history going to repeat itself in this one, or can they pull off that win? We shall find out between the Hoosiers and the Ducks. And finally, this is we jokingly call the Big Ten Conference the Rose Bowl Conference, but man, this is a Rose Bowl matchup from yesteryear. 15th ranked Michigan heading to the Coliseum to take on USC. 7:30 NBC. We talked about Bryce Underwood on the show before, the talented freshman quarterback from Michigan. Michigan dropped that game to Oklahoma, but now they've kind of got back into the winning ways, getting some momentum, and now taking on a USC program who was in the top 25, fell out with the loss to Illinois. USC desperately needs this win for Lincoln Riley and company. We'll find out what happens. This is kind of a must-win game, obviously, for both teams, as we have the Wolverines and the Trojans. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Tailgate Thursday. We hope you enjoy the college football action, and we hope you'll join us right back here next Thursday for Tailgate Thursday. Until next time, this is David Morrison, and as always, enjoy the football.